I still remember the moment I found out everything was falling apart. We'd just come back from a weekend away and I was exhausted. My head was pounding and my stomach felt like a knot that wouldn't untie. I'd been looking forward to our wedding for months, imagining the perfect day, the vows, the celebration. But my wife Lisa had been acting strange all week, more distant than usual, avoiding eye contact. I chalked it up to pre-wedding nerves. Little did I know that week was about to become the worst of my life. It started with a vague scent, like perfume mixed with something else, something sharper. I'd caught her lingering near her phone more often, typing fast, her eyes darting away when I looked. Small signs maybe, but enough to prick at my gut. Still, I told myself I was paranoid. Then there were the texts, not all of them, but enough. I saw her typing late at night. I saw her delete messages quickly when I entered the room. I pushed the doubts aside for the time being. I was preparing for what should have been the happiest day of our lives. The night before the wedding, I stayed at the hotel we'd booked for the occasion. I wanted everything perfect, and Lisa was supposed to join me after her last dress fitting. I remember walking into the room, the scent of her perfume still lingering in the air. That's when I saw the other pair of shoes by the bed, a pair I'd never seen before. A small, red-heeled shoe, sitting there innocently enough but oddly out of place next to her slippers. My stomach sank. My heart started pounding harder. I tiptoed closer, trying to convince myself I was imagining this. But then I noticed her purse, half open on the chair, and the corner of a lipstick stained with a darker, unfamiliar hue. I moved to open it, a stupid impulse I now regret. Inside, I found a crumpled napkin with lipstick marks and a receipt for a dinner the night before, paid for by her phone under a different name. My hands clenched into fists. The silence in the room suddenly felt deafening. It was all there, the physical evidence. The shoes, the lipstick, the receipt. My mind spun, trying to find a rational explanation. But there was no missing the truth. Lisa had been with someone, and that someone was clearly her best man, Mark. I didn't wake her up to confront her then. Instead, I just stood there, staring at that evidence, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I couldn't breathe, my palms slick with sweat. Every fiber of my being demanded I confront her, but I also knew this was just the beginning. There was no way I was letting this go without a fight. When she finally arrived at the hotel, I greeted her with a cold, measured tone. "Lisa, we need to talk. Now." Her face drained of color. "What's wrong? Is everything okay?" She tried to sound innocent, but I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes. "You tell me," I said, voice almost a whisper but trembling with fury. I pulled out the evidence, her purse, the lipstick, the receipt. Her eyes widened, then darted away. "What is this? Tell me the truth." She stammered, tried to deny it, but I cut her off. "Don't bother. I saw the shoes, the lipstick, the dinner bill. You were with Mark, weren't you?" My voice cracked, but I kept my composure. "How long has this been going on?" "During our engagement, over the last few weeks." She broke down then, tears streaming down her face, but it didn't matter to me. The damage was done. No apologies could undo what I'd already seen. I felt cold and furious at the same time. All I wanted was to end this, to make her feel the weight of what she'd done. I knew I couldn't just walk away. Not after this. I had to plan my next move carefully, because I wasn't going to let her get away with betraying me like this. My mind was already racing with ideas, ways to punish her, ways to make her regret this. I left the room that night with a heavy feeling in my chest. The wedding was canceled, the plans shattered. But this wasn't about the wedding anymore. This was about justice. I looked back once from the hallway, feeling the chill of realization settle deep in my bones. Lisa's face, her tears, they all blurred into one thing: betrayal. And I knew this was only the beginning of what I needed to do. I had to take control, to turn this nightmare around. I didn't know exactly how yet, but I knew I would. I had a plan, and she was going to regret every second of it. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach that wouldn't loosen. My mind kept replaying that scene, the shoes, the lipstick, the receipt, and I could still feel the weight of betrayal clinging to me like a second skin. I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. That would be giving her exactly what she wanted: my silence, my compliance. No, I had to act, and I had to act smart. I got out of bed, the cold floor making my bare feet twitch, and started piecing together my plan. First, I needed to know how deep this went. Was Mark just a one-time thing? Or had they been sneaking around for longer? I knew Mark well. He was my best man, my oldest friend. I couldn't believe he'd done this to me, nor that Lisa, my wife, had gone along with it. But I couldn't let emotions cloud my judgment. I had to gather evidence, and I had to do it quietly. I remembered seeing Mark's number stored in Lisa's phone the other day. I'd seen it because she was hiding her screen from me, but I'd memorized it. That was step one. I needed to see if I could find out where Mark was, what he was up to. I also decided I'd check her phone again. If she'd been lying about the extent of their affair, there might be more clues hiding in her messages or photos. I knew I had to be careful. I couldn't just grab her phone outright. That would blow everything. I needed to be subtle, patient. I waited until she left the hotel, probably to meet with family or friends, then snuck into her purse. My palms were sweaty, but I managed to open it without making a sound. Her phone was there, face down. I flipped it open, quickly scrolling through messages. It was risky, so many things could go wrong, but I needed answers. There, buried among her texts, was a string of messages between her and Mark. I could see their tones, flirty, secretive, full of inside jokes. My stomach twisted. One message read, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've been so bad lately." My fingers clenched the phone tighter. Was that just flirtation or something more? I couldn't tell yet, but I knew I'd find out. While I was at it, I grabbed her laptop from her bag. I wanted to look at their email exchanges, maybe some photos. She kept everything password protected, but I'd done my homework on her and I cracked her code in 10 minutes. It was simple, her favorite number combined with her birthday. Easy enough. I scrolled through her files, scanning for anything suspicious. That's when I found it, an email from Mark, sent just a week ago, titled "Our Secret." I read every word with a pounding heart. They'd planned a meetup, a getaway, maybe even how to cover their tracks. I saw pictures she'd taken of herself, not dressed for the wedding, but in a way that told me she was lying about her whereabouts. She'd been with Mark, no doubt about it. My fists clenched again. I couldn't believe this was happening. The person I trusted most in the world was lying, cheating, and sneaking behind my back. I felt a rush of anger and betrayal that made my vision blur slightly. I needed to do something, something big. That's when my plan started to take shape. I knew I had enough evidence to make her regret every moment she'd betrayed me. I would confront her again, but this time she wouldn't deny it. And when the time was right, I'd turn her own secrets against her. I wanted her to feel just a fraction of what I felt, lost, humiliated, and powerless. But I also knew I had to be smart. I'd gather everything, then strike. I slipped her phone back into her purse and left her laptop untouched. My mind was racing. I needed to keep calm, stay patient, and figure out exactly how I'd show her I wasn't a fool. The pieces were coming together, and I was about to make her regret crossing me. Whatever it took, she was going to pay for this lie. And I wasn't going to stop until she realized I was serious. I left her in that hotel room, her face pale and guilty, and stepped outside into the cold morning air. The world felt different now, like I was seeing everything through a fog of rage. I already knew that she'd try to spin this, deny everything, or blame me. But I'd collected enough proof to pin her down, and I'd hold her accountable. That's when I realized this wasn't just about cheating. It was about betrayal on a level I'd never expected from someone I loved. I already had a mental checklist of what needed to happen next. I'd call Mark, confront him, and then, when the moment was right, I'd show her what I had. She thought she could get away with this, but I was done playing nice. No more hiding. The game was on, and I was about to take control. They'd regret ever messing with me, I promised myself that much. It was time for revenge, and I was going to make sure she knew she'd lost everything she thought she had. I spent most of the morning packing in my hotel room, my mind a mess of rage and cold calculation. I had the evidence now, enough to blow her entire world apart, and I wasn't planning to hold back. I needed to plan my next move carefully. I knew Lisa's phone and her laptop were just the start. I had to get into Mark's world, find out exactly how deep this affair went, and get everything I needed to end this permanently. I made a quick call to Mark. His voice was smooth. Be a little nervous when I introduced myself. "Hey man, it's me. Listen, I got some questions about Lisa. Think you can meet?" I kept my tone steady even though my stomach was twisting into knots. I didn't want him to suspect I'd been spying yet. Yeah, he said, hesitating. What's this about? I know, I said simply. About you and Lisa, about what's been going on. I want to hear it from you. Today, meet me at that coffee shop on 5th, just outside the hotel. 10 minutes. He didn't argue. I could hear the silence on the line, the tension thick enough to cut. I hung up and stared at the phone. That was step one, get Mark talking, get him to slip up. I didn't know what I'd do if he tried to deny things outright, but I was prepared. For now, I just needed answers. Next, I called a private investigator I'd known for years. I told him what I needed, proof of Mark's location, his schedule, and maybe some pictures if possible. I didn't want to rely on just my gut anymore. I wanted facts, indisputable evidence. If Lisa thought she could spin her lies, I'd be ready to shut her down. While waiting for Mark, I decided to check Lisa's social media. Sometimes people slip up online. I scrolled through her recent posts, her tagged photos, anything that might give me an edge. Nothing explicit, but enough to tell she'd been hiding something. A photo of her with her head tilted, lips slightly parted, caption, "Finally some peace." I clenched my jaw. That peace wasn't what she claimed it was. When Mark finally arrived, I saw the nervous flicker in his eyes. I was already seated, waiting for him with a cold smile. "Thanks for coming," I said, voice low and steady. "Let's get straight to it. How long has this been going on? How many times?" He hesitated, then looked down at his coffee. "Look, man, I didn't mean for things to go this far. It was wrong, I know, but it's just a mistake, okay? It's not like I planned it. She came on to me more than once." I felt a surge of sickening anger. A mistake, a one-night thing, or was it more? Tell me the truth, I deserve that much. He looked up, hesitating again, then sighed heavily. "It's been a few weeks. We've met up a couple of times. I didn't want to ruin everything. I swear I didn't think it'd come out like this." That confirmed what I'd suspected. I was glad I'd called him, glad I'd gotten it out of him. Now I had the full picture. She'd betrayed me for weeks. I felt the blood rush to my face, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles ached. I'd been a fool to trust her. I left the coffee shop cold and furious. Mark was going to be my witness, but I knew I needed more. I'd hired the Pi to track Mark's movements for the next few days, gather photos, and see if he was meeting Lisa again. I also decided it was time for her to see what I had, every message, every secret, every lie. Back at the hotel, I sat down and drafted a message to Lisa. Simple, direct, brutal. I told her I knew everything, about the affair, the secret meetings, the lies. I told her I was done, that I'd had enough of being played. I promised her I'd confront her with everything, and she'd regret ever crossing me. While I was writing it, my palms sweat, my stomach twisting. I knew she'd break sooner or later, but I also knew I had to be prepared for her reaction, denial, tears, maybe even anger. I was ready for all of it. I'd made up my mind. She had to choose. Either she came clean now, or I'd make her wish she never crossed me. The next step was clear. I arranged for the evidence to be presented at a time and place where she'd have no escape. I wanted her to see every lie exposed, every betrayal laid bare. I knew she thought she could get away with this, but I had already decided that wouldn't happen. As I looked out the window at the busy city street below, I felt a strange sense of calm. I'd done everything I could to prepare. Now it was just a matter of waiting for her to face the truth. I knew this wasn't over, far from it, but I was ready. I had everything I needed, and I wasn't going to stop until she paid for what she'd done. The waiting was the worst part. Every minute felt stretched thin like a rubber band about to snap. I kept replaying everything. Her betrayal, the evidence I'd collected, the way her face looked when I confronted her the night before. The adrenaline, the anger, it all simmered just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to explode. I spent the hours before the confrontation meticulously planning how I was going to do it. I wanted her cornered, exposed. No more denial, no more running. I knew her better than she thought. She was a master manipulator, but I had the facts, and I was going to use them to crush her. I had arranged for the evidence, screenshots, texts, the emails, to be delivered to her before I arrived. I set up a meeting in an empty conference room at a nearby hotel, a place where she'd feel trapped. My goal was simple: give her a chance to come clean, and if she didn't, I was prepared to lay everything out in front of her, force her to confront her lies. I parked my car a few blocks away, then slowly walked back to the hotel, feeling my heart pound in my chest. I could feel the tightness in my throat, the sweat on my palms. The moment I stepped inside, I saw her sitting in the lobby, her face pale, eyes darting nervously. She looked fragile yet dangerous. The lie was finally catching up with her. I approached her and sat down across from her. Her hands trembled as she reached for her purse, maybe to hide her phone or wipe away her tears. I reached into my pocket, clutching the small envelope I'd prepared, proof she couldn't deny. "Lisa," I said softly but firmly, "it's time to stop pretending. I have everything, every message, every secret. You thought you could lie to me forever, but I'm done playing that game. It's over." Her eyes widened. "What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean." "Oh, don't give me that," I snapped. "I saw the shoes, the lipstick, the receipt. I saw the messages. Mark told me everything. You've been cheating on me for weeks, haven't you?" She flinched, her lips trembling but her voice trying to stay composed. "It was just a mistake. It didn't mean anything. It was during the wedding week. I was stressed, confused. It was a moment of weakness." "A moment of weakness," I echoed, voice rising. "That's what you call it. You lied about everything, about who you were, about us. You broke my trust and you expect me to believe it was just a mistake." She looked down, tears spilling over her cheeks. "I was scared. I didn't want to hurt you. It was supposed to be a secret, just a one-time thing to forget everything for a little while. I swear I didn't mean for it to go this far." "That's bullshit," I spat. "You think I'm stupid. You think I don't see what this really was. You were planning to keep this secret forever. That's why you hid your phone, why you deleted every message. You knew you were wrong." Her voice cracked. "Please, you have to believe me. It wasn't supposed to go beyond that night. I still love you. I made a mistake, but I want to fix this." I shook my head, feeling the rage boiling inside me. "Fix it? After everything? You think I can just forget this? You're damn right I'm angry. You betrayed me with my best man. Do you even realize what this does to a person? How it shatters everything I thought I knew about the woman I married." She looked desperate now. "I'll do anything, therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. Just don't throw everything away, please." I stared at her, feeling the cold emptiness inside. I reached into the envelope I'd prepared and laid the evidence on the table, screenshots of their texts, the receipts, the emails. Her face went pale. "You've got nothing," she whispered. "Oh, I've got everything," I said. "And now I want to make sure you understand what happens next." I paused, then pulled out the last piece of proof, a recording I'd made of her admitting to the affair when I caught her in the hotel room. She froze as I pressed play. Her voice sounded small and broken. "I was wrong." That was the moment I saw her truly break. Her eyes welled with tears, her hands trembling uncontrollably. I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and disgust. The truth was out, and she had no way to spin her way out of it now. "I'm done," I told her, voice flat. "You lied to me, betrayed everything we had, and now it's over. You want to pretend you're sorry. Save it. I'm walking away, and I want the keys to the house. I want you gone today." She looked at me, defeated, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't do this." I stood up and reached into my pocket. "Here's your chance. Take the keys, pack your things, and leave. I don't want to see you again, not until you're ready to be honest for once in your life." I placed the keys on the table and turned to walk out, my heart pounding. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. As I left the room, I felt the cold air hit my face. I'd finally done it. I'd confronted her with everything, laid bare her lies, and made it clear she couldn't hide anymore. I knew it wouldn't be easy, nothing about this was, but I felt a strange sense of relief. The nightmare was finally over. I paused outside the door, took a deep breath, and looked at the keys on the table. That's when I realized this was the beginning of my new life, one where I decided I wouldn't be played for a fool again. And I knew I'd never let her do this to me again. Walking out of that hotel room, I felt like I'd shed a layer of poison that had been seeping into my bones. I left the keys on the table, watching her reach for them with trembling hands. Her face was a ghost of the woman I thought I knew, eyes hollow, cheeks stained with tears. I didn't look back. I knew that if I did, I might crumble, so I walked away, straight into the cold, indifferent city. I didn't bother to call her. I didn't want to hear her voice, see her plead, or beg for forgiveness. My mind was already spinning with what had to happen next. I had the evidence, the proof of her lies, her affair. Now I had to make her see that I was serious, She had crossed a line and I was done tolerating it. First, I went straight to a lawyer's office. I needed to get things moving quickly. I sat across from her, told her I wanted a divorce, and asked her to prepare the paperwork. She didn't argue, she just nodded, eyes vacant. I instructed her to leave the house immediately. No more second chances, no more excuses. While waiting for the legal process to kick in, I contacted a trusted friend, someone I could rely on to help me move forward. I didn't want to go through this alone. I told him everything from the betrayal to my plans. I want her out and I want her to regret ever crossing me, I said, voice cold but firm. She's going to wish she never played with my trust. Over the next few days, I set the wheels in motion. I packed her belongings, put them in boxes, and handed her the keys. I made sure the house was empty before she picked up her things. I didn't want her to have any comfort here anymore. It felt right, like I was reclaiming what was mine. Meanwhile, I also started distancing myself from everyone who knew us. I deleted her number, blocked her on social media. I didn't want any surprise visits, any manipulative attempts at reconciliation. I wanted to cut all ties cleanly. I didn't need her dragging me back into that mess. The most surprising part was how much lighter I felt after taking these steps. The weight of betrayal had been heavy, but now it was finally beginning to lift. I was free from her lies, her betrayal, her deception. I'd been a fool, but I was done being a victim. Now I was rebuilding brick by brick. One night I sat alone looking at the empty house. I thought about her, about everything I'd lost and what I'd gained: freedom, clarity, a sense that I'd finally taken control of my life again. I realized I'd trusted her blindly, but now I was learning to trust myself. As I reflect on this, I keep telling myself one thing: never ignore the red flags. I saw them, sure, but I brushed them aside, convincing myself I was overreacting. That was my mistake. If I'd paid closer attention earlier, maybe I could have spared myself some of this pain. But it's too late now. My advice to anyone out there who finds themselves in a similar situation: trust your instincts. Don't let guilt or hope blind you. When you see the signs, face them head on. Confrontation is hard, but silence only feeds the damage. Be prepared to walk away, even if it hurts, because staying will only destroy what little you have left of yourself. I'm not the same person I was a week ago, and honestly, I'm not even sure I want to be. But I know I'll survive. I'll move on. And someday I'll find someone who respects me enough not to betray me. That's the lesson I keep clinging to. It's painful, but it's also necessary. I've handed her the keys, closed that chapter, and now it's time to start over. I'll take each day as it comes, rebuild my sense of trust in myself, and never let anyone get that close again without asking the hard questions. Because I've learned the hard way, trust must be earned, not assumed. And if you're reading this and you're in a similar boat, here's what I want you to remember: don't stay silent. Don't justify their betrayal. Get your evidence, confront, and walk away if you have to. Because you deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values you enough not to cheat behind your back. I finally see that now, and I'm finally free. Sitting in my empty house now, I can finally breathe without that heavy knot pressing down on my chest. It's been a whirlwind, painful, humiliating, but ultimately liberating. I handed her the keys, watched her walk out with tears streaking her face, and in that moment I felt a strange mix of relief and residual anger. Mostly relief. I knew I'd made the right choice. I took some time to reflect on everything: how I ignored the signs, how I convinced myself that it was just stress or a mistake. But deep down, I always knew something was wrong. Ignoring red flags doesn't make them disappear. It only prolongs the inevitable. Now I understand that trusting your instincts is vital. When something feels off, it usually is. I should have listened to that voice earlier. The truth is, betrayal is a brutal teacher. It strips away the illusions we cling to and forces us to confront our own strength. I won't pretend I don't feel the hurt. Trust, once broken this badly, takes time to mend. But I'm choosing to see this as a new beginning, not just an ending. I'm rebuilding not just my house, but myself. The experience has changed me for sure. I'll be more cautious, more guarded, but also more honest with myself about what I need and deserve. I won't tolerate being treated like an afterthought or a backup plan. No one should. That lesson is burned into me now, clearer than ever. I hope anyone reading this who's going through similar pain finds strength in my story. It's okay to feel lost, to feel betrayed, to feel like everything's crashing down, but you can get through it. You have to for yourself. Never settle for less than honesty and respect. Protect your heart, even if it hurts temporarily, because the alternative, silence, denial, or staying in a toxic situation, is far worse. Today, I took the final step. I walked into the lawyer's office, signed the divorce papers, and handed her the house keys. That was my act of reclaiming my dignity. It wasn't easy and it won't be quick, but I finally feel like I'm in control again. That's the best gift I could give myself. So here's my last piece of advice. Listen to your gut, confront your demons head-on, and never let anyone make you feel less than you are. Trust is a fragile thing. Once broken, it's damn hard to repair. But you can survive, better, stronger, and wiser. I am proof of that. I'm not perfect, but I'm free. And for the first time in a long while, I'm finally looking forward to what's next.